I suppose I'm wanting to make this little video as a desire to bring awareness. I talk to people all over the world, and I have personally met a lot of very interesting people in my life. With that being said, often only people who truly care will ask if somebody has eaten or not. And depending upon the situation and the individual, you might find out a sad truth. For some people, they look at being able to eat as a bad thing or a good thing, and then they judge people according. What most something that most people don't think about. One, you don't know what it's like to be down and on your luck until you are down and on your luck. And sometimes I really wish a lot more people would understand what that feeling is like. Because then maybe they'd stop judging other people as bad as they do. But anyhow, the other day I'm talking to a gentleman from Africa, and he asked me what I ate, and I told him I had some tomatoes, and I had zucchini I was going to have later. He didn't know what zucchini was, so I told him it was a type of a green vegetable and etc. But he was like, well, that doesn't sound like a lot of food. I said, yeah, but it's really not. I mean, I have to make my food last, and I don't get a lot of funds to go towards food, something most people don't have to worry about. I'm not by places where I could just run out and go to like a food bank kind of a concept. And even then, there's still criterias and all these other things that again, unless you've been in the situation, you don't understand. And then other factors. But anyhow, and I mean, for me, like, I'm going to be eating 2 peppers. Usually I'd buy a 3-pack. For later, I have like this, an acorn squash, which is really good. But all of these things I eat, I keep the seeds. And there's reasons for that. And it's just like the tomatoes the other day. I had 3 tomatoes, and these were the seeds I got out of the tomatoes. And then I'll be planting these as well. They're done drying, and I'm going to process them. But I even have a honeydew melon I'll be doing too. Right there. I was just letting it ripen some because the seeds weren't quite ready. Because sometimes when you get fruit like that or vegetables like that from the store, you'll find out that a good majority of the time that they're kind of premature picked, which makes it, last longer. It can, sit around longer before it gets to you guys or to me. So anyhow, I've been letting that sit so it can ripen more and the seeds will be more developed where I can actually get plants out of it. That's another thing a lot of people don't realize. Same thing like cucumbers. If you're wanting to have actual cucumber seeds from a cucumber you buy from the store, most of the time you're going to have at least 1 or 2 you're going to be able to set aside and pretty much let it go bad so the seeds will continue to develop inside it. Otherwise, the seeds won't be no good. A lot of people don't know that as well. So sometimes you have to sacrifice food. So like for me, I'm going to process these up. Got little containers to put them in. And then I'll package them and then go from there. It's something that I do often, but there's reasons why I do this. One, I know what it's like to be in hard times, and having seeds are a good thing. The year that COVID hit and we were all homestruck and all this other nonsense, I just ended up having my own garden, and I already had seeds because this is what I enjoy doing. And I always felt, you should be able to have a garden. Go to find out there's a lot of laws and rules and regulations most people don't know about. And the only time you're going to find out that you're all actually not in compliance with ordinance and zoning and all this other stuff is if somebody complains about you in your garden. Otherwise, if you're not paying to have your garden in one form or another, you can't have a garden. So again, it's part of this entire overall process of the loophole of the BS that's going on in the world that so many people don't realize because they don't want to see it. That's getting into another topic, not what I'm trying to do right now. is just talking about the importance of gathering these seeds. I got a knife right here, which I personalized myself and painted this all up, and I haven't got to use it a lot, but I enjoy it so far. I mean, every girl should love her knife. And it's like just right, fits just right in my hand. It's comfortable, it's sharp. It's a very good knife. But I'm going to use this to press these seeds up and get some seeds going, which I'm just going to end up ending this. It's about the awareness of how important it is for you guys to be collecting your seeds. I think it would be kind of boring for all of you to sit here, watch me chop them up and collect seeds. All you do is you take out your seeds of everything once it's time to either process your food or collect the seeds from it, and you let them dry. It is so much better than taking a tomato, cutting up a tomato and putting it in the dirt. First of all, you could have ate that tomato and still processed your seeds. And if you weren't hard up, that's why you didn't know it. You should have done it a little bit different. But again, if nobody sits down to tell people it's important to do these things, they don't know that. We are getting ready everywhere to go through harder times than what we have ever known or faced before. These things are just going to happen because it's the times that we are in. So you must be prepared and take precautions to do this. I mean, just because I'm in a crappy spot right now, I've always known it was safe, important, wise, and many other things why I should always collect my seeds. I've always hated taking seeds and just throwing them out when you should have been throwing them in the woods and letting it grow naturally. Oh, but then there's laws. You can't do that. You can't just willy-nilly plant seeds anywhere because you'll disturb the ecosystem, which is already disturbed by roads, houses, power lines, and many other things. But let's not benefit wildlife by disposing your seeds in the woods, because that's a no-no. So therefore, even, again, it's just this constant nonsense. But when the shit hits the fan, guess what? If you're one of those that were safe, prepared, and you took precautions, you saved your seeds, you got an upper advantage for the hard times that will be upon you. Now, if you're not going to face hard times and hard times don't come, or you have a lot of seeds, I think it's important, seriously, for there to be a bigger awareness for homeless people who know where they go to get away from people to do the stuff that we're not allowed to do because you're homeless and all this other stuff. They would have an idea on where they could go to plant some seeds that they could go back and later harvest for the food. Nobody has to have a well-maintained garden. You do not have to go out of your way. Now, if you plant seeds and you're homeless, having water just to go pour on a plant ain't something that's that easy to do. But if the homeless person is really thinking about it, still, God will take care of it. And if you plant it in the right areas, it'll be there. And if not, then, well, there's other reasons why it didn't work. You probably didn't plant the right thing. You probably planted it in the wrong area. It got mowed down. It got ate up. I mean, there are these factors. But at the same time, if you were to take this and you were homeless or in a traveling situation or other things like that, you would just take these, plant them in good areas where you can go back and harvest later, and then go back and harvest later. You don't have to go out of your way. Know that they're designed to grow. Not a lot of people think about that because it's like, oh, I got a garden, I got a weed, No, just got to put them in the right spot and they'll be fine. So I think it really is quite important that we start bringing the awareness to other people who are in hard situations. Tell them it's wise to save their seeds for many reasons. I got way more seeds than what I could probably grow in my own garden alone, because I got the seeds also from the things that I planted when COVID first happened, before my life totally went chaotic and became what it did. I was doing that even from my own garden. I knew what my daughter liked. I knew what I liked. It was planted there. We ate it, and from things we ate, I took the seeds and I saved them, still have them. And when I'm able to be in the position to either plant them or pass them on, I'm going to be able to do so. because I have seeds where I can do that. And if everybody started doing this, you might actually be able to make a difference in the world. Just remember, there's no-nos about doing certain things, even though if an animal was to come along, let's say a lovely deer, and you put this out, and you just left it out there where a deer would eat it, a deer eats it, walks along, poop, poop, poop. Well, inside that poop, there will be good seeds. And along where that deer walked and pooped, there will grow more vegetables because it was a natural process. So everyone who thinks they got to go out of their way and plant, no, this is how the natural cycle of things work. An animal eats something, the seeds go through the body, they come out with the fresh fertilizer in a little spot, the seed is able to grow, and then the animal is able to come back along later, see it, eat it, and repeat the process. And eventually, this is how true food that they consume becomes in areas where they often live. So when you learn just like hunting tricks and stuff like that, because I grew up in a family that was hunters and trailers and stuff like that, you know, they're all about tracking, and I was always about it, and so I got into it at a very little age, and it became an enjoyment. So then when I got into like wildlife photography and going into the woods, one thing I always knew, one of the biggest survival skills was, and nobody really said it, is what I've always said, and I know other people I'm sure think it, they might even say it, but if you're in a survival life situation, look for signs of animals and wildlife. If there is a way that they are being sustained where they are, copy and mimic them, and you are more likely to survive because you learn to listen to the wildlife that was thriving all the way around. Because they knew, because it was their home, their habitat. People, oddly enough, do not know how to live without their gadgets, without all this little fancy stuff, and sometimes something as simple as this is all you need to get by. But hey, you don't even need that. It just really helps. Just like seeds, it really helps. And if you have property or you have somewhere you're able to do that, then you should be doing that. And don't freak out when animals might get into your garden, people. What is wrong with you? First of all, do you think that land was meant to be owned by man? It was meant to be free for everything. So don't get mad when an animal comes and eats some. Plant some extra in preparation, knowing that the wildlife is still going to come through and consume stuff you're trying to grow. And get over it. And know that eventually there will be so much from the natural cycle that you won't have to worry about it. So having an abundance of seeds like what I have, will that just make it easier if I get into an area to where I get to grow things, and let's say something happens, well then I got some backup seeds, or I got seeds I'm able to plant more later, help somebody else out, or I'll have enough of a crop that it won't matter when animals get into it, or if a person was in need, I can say here sincerely and not even have to have anything in return. And then knowing that I can eat and I'll be able to eat again later because I had seeds. So I think it's just very important for people to think about little things like that that are good to always do for many reasons. And again, let's say you don't have a reason for your seeds. Remember, there is a homeless person out there somewhere. If given a few tips and advice on how to grow it without having to do anything, just putting one finger knuckle in the ground, drop the seed in, cover it up, and walk away. Plant a few of all the seeds in one little spot and do it again somewhere else, and so on. And the natural cycle of natural things, butterflies and bees and everything, will pollen and wind and the way it naturally works. Again, you don't have to interfere and go back later and get it. Again, if you were to give homeless people some tips and advice on what would make their life a little bit better, that would make such a difference. Oh, but remember, remind them there's laws about planting seeds just anywhere. So with that in mind, I hope you enjoy And remember, you all might have been taught faith the size of a mustard seed can move a mountain. But within my personal experience within life and what I've seen other people go through, doubt the size of a mustard seed can also make that mountain not move. So with that in mind, peace out. Voila, all the seeds from one, and actually got quite a few seeds there. So then I'll just put them in here and I will let them dry, and then I'll package them, usually inside a napkin or a paper towel, and then I'll write on it, and then I'll take just a tiny little piece of tape to make sure it doesn't unravel after I fold it up. That way it breathes, that way there's no moisture. If there is moisture, it can get out. That it's just best to store seeds that way. It's better than plastic, because if there's any moisture in them, they don't do good. But if you are going to put them in plastic after you're really sure they're dry, go ahead and add some paper or something in there to absorb any potential moisture that might be around. But overall, imagine how many more peppers will come out of one pepper. The amount of seeds here are just a lot. And this could feed a lot of people, just one pepper alone. And for those people who can't have a big garden, you can get pots, you can use plastic bottles, you can use other things. You can expend them up, you can put them in your window inside your house. There's a lot of ways to go about it. But again, it is such an important thing that many people don't stop to think about or take the time. This could give a lot of food to just one homeless person for a long period of time. Because I'll tell you what, when COVID happened, I went around looking for places to help around Thanksgiving. And I believe I was in New Mexico at the time. And while I was there, I went around and I was just like blown away. Yeah, COVID might be happening, but that should be no reason not to help those homeless people that I've seen all over the place. Because when all those churches and everything shut down, when there was no resources to give them, what do you think happened? They paid the price. When they never should have been closed down in the first place. A church never should have shut its doors. It should have made provisions to continue to help the people. And I found a lot of places they weren't, for one reason or another. Pandemic or no pandemic, where's your faith? Anybody? Do you actually do anything you claim you believe? Do you respect life? Do you pass judgment? Do you have bad thoughts? Do you do bad deeds? Do you do good things? Do you go out of your way to spend as much as your time not paying attention to the ways of the world and do what you should do? I read a book once, and a lot of people seem to know this book, and it said to teach a man to fish and he won't go hungry. That may be true because there's fish year-round, but not everywhere there's water. Teach a man how to do what should be natural, to intentionally put a seed somewhere and let God do his thing. And he will always have something to go back to. Furthermore, not just him. Animals, nature, everything that also depends on this is part of the balance of everything. So when the animals start coming out of the woods, because their natural resources have been depleted because of climate change, man taking things down, cutting down forests, overfishing areas and other things, and when the animals are looking for food, what do you think they're going to find? Plop, humans. So keep that stuff in mind, because if you do something about it, you're helping what should be a natural cycle. But remember, man has those laws. You can't just plant seeds anywhere. Not just any seeds either. So with that in mind, remember to go ahead and to go through with a good deed, because everybody needs something to eat. So again, I say,